What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm super excited to bring you a new knife review, but it is an old familiar face that I'm bringing to you today. This is the replacement for my polymer handle Sig K320. The original one that I had, it was polymer. I really liked it, but when they announced that they were coming out with an aluminum handle with the G10 insert, I became very intrigued and I just was compelled to check it out. So the specs are going to be pretty much the same. I am going to run through them just in case you're just checking out or new to the channel and didn't see my original. So the Hogue Sig K320, or Sig K320 made by Hogue, I guess I should say, has a 3.5-inch S30V steel, 4.75-inch aluminum handles with G10 insert, as I mentioned, 8 inches overall, and the claimed weight of the original was 4.18 ounces. I'm sorry, I bumped the camera. I was actually waiting to try and weigh this to see how it compared to the polymer handle. This definitely has more weight to it, 100%. So 5.3. All right, so a little bit more weight. About a half an ounce more. Not too bad considering, oh goodness, that you're getting aluminum. Now I have changed the format on my channel. I have started to open, carry, and use and handle these. Now because I've had this one before, I didn't carry it as long because I know that Hogue does a phenomenal job with their heat treat and on their edges with their S30V. In some instances, you're going to find that some knives that have 20 CV or M390 that have like a 58, 60, 61 heat treat are actually not going to hold up as well as S30V. S30V already has a very superior edge retention, but with their heat treat, it is very tough. And part of the reason why you see some of the prices is not just because it's a USA made blade, but it is because it takes more time to grind, so you take more time to build the knife. Now, I haven't sent this off for heat treat. I haven't seen where anyone has tested that heat treat, but from my understanding, they're supposed to be doing at a higher heat treat, much like what you see from a Spyderco. So really impressive. Just to give you, I did want to point this out. The box didn't really change that much, but I did notice that they changed their pouch a little bit here. So the outside has like what feels like a little bit better done canvas, and then on the inside, instead of it being more of a fuzz from what I remembered, this actually now has like that soft, if you're familiar with kind of like a basic sunglass case, that's kind of what it feels like. So it's nylon and polymer, and it's a Mexican made case, if that's of interest to you. But I thought that was nice, but it does feel really soft and plush, and it is padded, so it feels like something that would actually protect the knife very well if you had to, transport it in any way, shape, or form, and you didn't want to carry it in pocket, or if you were carrying multiple knives but you were packing this one away and you didn't have a roll. It definitely would do a good job protecting the knife, and really nice considering what they're shipping it in. All right, so let me get that out of the way. What I'm going to do really quick, I went through the specs. Let me just again run through the comparison knives that I normally do on the channel for you. First up is going to be the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. You can see here the Hogue is slightly longer and has more presence. And then a knife that I think it compares very well to is actually going to be the Spyderco Shaman. The Shaman is a really good reference and comparison. Very similar type blade shapes. You do have a very low drop point on both of these, and you do have a little bit more contouring on the factory G10 handles, which are smooth on the original smock. And then when you get into some of the alternatives like this particular run from Blade HQ, which is not available anymore, it came with the micarta. I do have the skinny scales on here, so it does change that reference a little bit, but I think this is a really good alternative. Even for the extra $30 that you're paying for the aluminum in the G10, and I'm going to get into it here in a minute, it's still a really good option. But Spyderco is another company where you might see S30V and turn your nose up, but I'm going to tell you the heat treat and everything that Spyderco does for the grind and the edges on their knives are actually sometimes going to be better than some of the knives that you see from other companies that are doing it in M390. This is a prime example here where I think the heat treat on these are like 58, 59, 60, whereas you're getting 62s on this S30V. And that heat treat is going to make a difference on how the knife performs, how it holds an edge. So that's something I don't think we take enough into consideration, and I'm probably going to save that for a walk and talk episode because I don't want this to run too long. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and bring out the the Bug Out from Benchmade. This is the knife that I usually run alongside this knife as a comparison. And then the other knife that I'm going to bring out for the size reference for those that are familiar with it, and it's actually in the pocket today, is going to be the Civivi Conspirator. I think the Conspirator is another knife that's really close in size, a really good comparison. For the size, you get a nice tall blade with a good geometry on it. You get about similar handle length. You get a little bit more neutral handle on the Conspirator, but I thought that was a really good size reference. Get this Bug Out of here. And then last but not least are going to be the Buck 110 Plus from the Budget Knives and the QB Royal KU321. Again, under 3 inches, just to give the size reference for this particular knife. Now let me go ahead and jump into my thoughts and impressions of the updated Sig K320. I have not had a chance to really test, oh yeah, I can't do that one-handed. I have not had a chance to really test the edge too much on here. I did open a couple packages and it still has a little bit of stuff on the edge there. The weight is apparent. You can tell a difference in the weight. Not that the other sit at 4 point, what did I say, 4.8? I think I said 4.8. That knife is still, you know, fairly heavy, but again, it's a hard use knife and it feels like it in hand. The one thing that I'll notice, they did go with just a flat G10. They came up closer to here, whereas the polymer, I think it had like sections, if I remember right. I think it had like a little bit of a notch here and there for the styling, if I recall correctly. It's been a moment, and yes, I forgot that quickly. But I will say the G10 does have good texturing, but the polymer, because of the way that the stimpling is done, actually felt more sandpaper-like than the G10 does. What I was worried about when I saw it is it going in and out of the pocket, because this pocket clip is not super springy. It's very, very tough, and you are going to get a little bit of sawing, and you are going to have to push because you're going to get some resistance of it going in and out of the pocket, especially if you have a thicker seam. So I have like a khaki style shorts, and they have a thicker seam, so I do find that I have to kind of really push it in there, and I can feel the resistance, but I don't know if it's going to do as much damage as I thought on there, because of the fact that this is grippy, but it's not as sandy as like the dimpling that they have on the polymer. The one thing that I did notice, I've played around with it, it has like just a subtle hint of side to side. You can feel it click in there, even though you might not be able to see it moving as much. Just a hint of play, no matter what. If I try to tighten it beyond where I have it right now, it's getting to the point where when I take it out, I'm actually having to close it two-handed because there's just too much tension on there. So just a little bit of a hint of click. I mean, it is ever so subtle, and it could just be my example. I did ask to have the knife QC'd, but I'm sure all they probably did was just check to see how it felt. They probably checked the centering on it, and just looked the knife over and sent it out. I doubt that they probably checked to see if there was any side-to-side play, and I should have specified that when I asked them to send them that, because on the polymer version, even when it was a little too loose, there was no side-to-side play, and I'm not really sure if that's because the polymer maybe has the ability to have some flexibility, so that it stays clamped correctly, and the aluminum perhaps does not. Maybe the machining, it doesn't have to be as precise on the polymer. Not quite sure. Maybe it's just my example. Now, I will say that the sounds are different, because the aluminum, I guess because it's thicker pieces of metal, there is no, and I actually meant to take the flashlight out for this. Sorry, guys. There is no milling down on the inside of the knife whatsoever. It is just solid pieces of aluminum, which I think also lends to the weight, but I think that's dampening the sounds. The other one had more of a crisper click. This sounds very very muted. The other adverse thing that I'll say that I noticed with the additional weight and the steel, it feels, I know it's not by a significant amount, but it now all of a sudden feels more premium. I'm not quite sure how that's possible. I don't know if it's because the placebo effect of having the extra weight makes it feel like it's a more sturdy, more premium knife, but it does really feel like that. And again, these are the same ergos that are on the polymer, and it feels just really good in hand. Feels like it's going to be a nice utility knife. Feels like if you need to choke back and do some like power cuts, you can do it. Even if you need to choke up and get through those power cuts, still feels very durable. Like it's definitely intended to be used as a work knife. I grabbed my other one a ton to break down boxes because it was so comfortable in hand, because Sig, again, sends these from the factory with a fantastic edge. I don't think people talk about what Hogue does. I said Sig, but I meant Hogue. I don't think people talk a lot about Hogue's edges and their heat treats on their steels, but they really do a fantastic job. They were like Spyderco was back in the day. They were very finicky about their warranties. They didn't want the knives messed with too much. But I think through community feedback, they understand that knife owners like to take their knives apart. They like to clean them themselves, and they don't want to be penalized for taking the knife apart. So they honor warranty. As far as I know, I have taken mine apart, cleaned them, greased them, and send them in, and they've said nothing to me when I've sent it in for Omega Springs on some other models that I had. I sent it in on the Deca. I sent it in on the Hogue Doug Ritter. I did not ever have it fail, and that's not to say that they changed anything or that there's anything different, but I didn't have it fail on the K320, and I have not had it fail on the mini Doug Ritter. So 50-50, right? 4 knives, 2 sent in for Omega Springs, 2 are performing just fine with absolutely no issues, and I 100% fidget with these. The other thing that I'll notice, I'd like to say as well, is that I've noticed for some reason with Hogue, whenever you get one that has the coating on it, the coating doesn't seem to want to come off as easily. So it is really, really smooth and doesn't have nearly the amount of lock stick that the stainless steel one does, the uncoated stainless steel. The stainless steel had initial stick, and I cleaned and greased it, and it went away and came back a little bit. So I cleaned it and made sure not to add any more grease. And I've noticed that in that instance, with very minimal minimal oil on the phosphor bronze washers, they actually perform really well. And I've had no lock stick since I've done that. Now with the Benchmade that I brought out here, I actually picked up the Pacific Sun, and I think they do a powder coated crossbar, and I think it's aluminum versus steel. I'm not 100% sure on that because it's been a little while since I've had it, but I've noticed all the lock stick on this, even if you like thumb stud kick it out, which generally I found that force causes it to wedge the most that it can, it has 0 lock stick. And again, going to the titanium handles from Flytanium really makes this feel premium. It does have just a hint, like, I mean, just ever so slight, like a click. I'll try to put this at an angle where you might be able to see the blade move. It may not move. You may just feel the click. That's what I'm experiencing with Sig K320. Gosh, I forgot for a second. Sorry, guys. The Sig K320, it's the same thing. I'll try to hold it here, and I'm just trying to move the handle. And, of course, now I can't feel it. Oh, there it is. It's just so subtle. I think you can see right here. You can probably see, maybe. It's really hard to tell through this screen because it's so small. I'm hoping when I get back to my computer for edits, I'll be able to tell. But this is a fantastic value. I believe the polymer handles, which the reason they did the polymer handle wasn't to save money. Sig has the P320, which has an all polymer frame with a stainless steel slide and slide rails, and they're touting that particular polymer, how strong it is, how good it feels in hand, how good the jimping or stimpling is. In the gun world, it's stimpling on the polymer. Feels really good, right? What they wanted was, when you buy the gun at this price, you're going to get this knife made in the USA by Hogue. It is the K320, and it also has the similar polymer treatment. And Hogue cut their teeth on making accessories for pistols and got into the knife world, and they did a very good job making that transition, because they're a quality company and they're run very well. They're managed very well. So that's why it came out with the polymer. I think a lot of people were like, why would they do this? And I mean, if you really have to ask, when you talk about all companies that offer some type of FRN product, or a lot, not all, but a lot, and they do a really good job with their FRN, it's bi-directional, it's very strong, very well made, high quality. They do a good job with, synchronizing any patterns or anything on it. That's just, par for the course. It is a way to save a little bit of money, but I think the fact that they can do it at such a high level of quality is something that people probably overlook, because they want titanium, or they want aluminum, or they want micarta. But you can't overlook the fact that that is a quality knife, and you're getting it for less. And it's coming with a blade that has a consistent edge and heat treat done to it. So you can't always just look at M390 and titanium and think, oh, this is better. Because if that M390 is done below 60 hard Rockwell, whatever, the HRC, can't think of it right now, and you're getting an S30V that's done at 61, 62, 63, your performance likely, and in all likelihood, should be better on the S30V. But anyway, this is a recommendable knife. You're getting aluminum S30V. Here's my comparison. I think you're getting near Spyderco level quality that you're getting out of the Shaman for over $200 with a standard S30V and smooth G10 handles. Again, over $200. You're getting this one for quite a bit less. And you're getting aluminum instead of polymer, but you can get it in the polymer, which I would say is just a little bit beneath G10. I think G10 has the ability to be manipulated and still have the same type of durability that you would find in most metals. You're not going to find G10 flexing or moving around as much. It's going to feel more durable, more sturdy throughout the knife than you will find with most polymers. But I will say the polymer that was on the old Sig K320 that I had was a very durable polymer, and it had texturing all throughout. Now this aluminum coated handle, it does have a little bit of like an orange peel, so it's not super smooth. It's not slick smooth in hand. It actually feels like it offers just enough grip to it. So I do like this knife. Either version would be highly recommendable. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, leave a like. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. I'd love to have you follow along. And don't forget to turn your notification bell to all so you don't miss alerts. Also, give me a follow over on Instagram if you already haven't. Really would be interested in following folks back if you're into posting EDC pictures. If you have a personal account, I usually don't use this account to follow that. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. And until next time, peace.